Good morning, church family. Ron Branscombe here. Hope you're having a blessed day today. Today we're going to cover chapter 37 of the book of Ezekiel. And this chapter is the Valley of Dry Bones. And an interesting picture here of what God had presented in front of Ezekiel. And so with this, Ezekiel starts there in chapter 37 verse 2 about how he was led back and forth among them and saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley. Now, in the Jewish world, proper burial is really an important thing. So for bodies to be left out, for bones to just be left out and not be properly wrapped and have a respectful burial was kind of a disgrace to the individual. And so here you have a valley of bones where obviously something disgraceful happened, and we know kind of what the history of that was for Israel. But the Lord said to Ezekiel, "Prophesy to these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord." Now, it's interesting not only here, but also too when Ezekiel is going to prophesy about breathing life into these bones. Hearing the word of the Lord is really key. And so it just gives me the thought of if like in our churches today, in our society, if you have an old, decrepit church that has dry bones, that's really just not on fire of the Lord, what is the one thing that can occur to give life to that body? It's the preaching of God's word. And so this is what Ezekiel was doing. And so it's just a great example for us. So with this, right in verse 3, God asked Ezekiel, and this is just kind of anecdotal, he asked me, "Son of man, can these bones live?" Now, obviously in our human everyday thought, of course these bones can't live, but in the divine nature, Ezekiel had the right answer. Ezekiel said, "Sovereign Lord, you alone know." He can make it happen. God can make anything happen. And he takes these dry bones and he winds up putting flesh on them and resurrecting a body on these particular bones. And then he has Ezekiel prophesy and give these bones and this body life, and they become a breathing instrument, and they become individuals. And so this is a Israel nation army that is developed right there in this valley of dry bones. Later on, verse 15, Ezekiel is told to take 2 sticks and to write on them. And those 2 sticks are to represent the 2 tribes, really, to Israel and Judah. And he's to put those 2 sticks together, and it combines to make 1 stick. And it's the picture of one nation. It's also a picture of, within our current churches today, of a divided church, how united we need to be. Not be of multiple sticks, but be of united and working with each other. And so with that, we get the picture of what Israel is going to look like. You get a vision and a prophecy about David leading this particular nation. And, oh, by the way, they will have 1 shepherd in verse 24. Key verse. This is a prophecy. The land of Israel will have 1 shepherd. And there will be a new temple. As this group of Israel is brought back to their land, there will be a new temple. And in chapters 40 through 48, we're going to get a little more explanation of what that means. So the final verse 28 here just sums it up really well. Then the nations will know, after all this, after he brings Israel back, and after all these things occur, the nations will know that I, the Lord, make Israel holy when my sanctuary is among them forever. That's a brief summary of chapter 37 of the book of Ezekiel. I pray that you have a blessed day. God bless, and Lord willing, we will see you Sunday. Take care.